Lisa Murphy.
Hello, Rusty.
Hello.
Nice to see you.
Yes, you too. Christmassy holiday. You get me in the spirit there.
Oh, well, I live in Florida, so after moving from Rochester, I got to do something to pretend it's holiday time.
We're going to get a big storm tonight, actually. Yeah, that nor'easter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's like 70, so burr, I'm freezing.
You poor thing. You poor thing.
So I read your book.
Yeah.
Should I hold it up? Should I hold it up?
Yeah.
I can hold it up.
This thing?
Look, twin books. Yeah. And I used 2 highlighters and I took about 10 pages of notes in addition to what I wrote in the margins. And I love it. I love it when like people who might not be familiar with you, but know me, and I say, go read this book, they're going to hear just enough of me in it. I think that makes it like pushing themselves out of their comfort zone, but they hear just a little, like, right? What's that old saying? Everything new is half familiar, right? So I've heard Lisa say this. Oh, look, somebody else is saying it, and vice versa. Like people in your world who might not be familiar with me, reading this and then jumping into some of my material, same exact thing. And I think that's really, really important, especially as we work to have people really embrace a true, I hate saying like anything play, like true play, deep play. I hate that. But a real play-based environment for children. I think the more people have in their tool belts to see that it's not just one person's personal preference, but there's a lot of people out there very vocal, essentially kind of singing the same song, but with their own individual tunes, but that there is consistency and continuity in what a play-based environment looks like. And I loved it. I mean, I was like, oh my God, I say this, he says this, I say this, I'm stealing this, I'm plopping this instantly into my workshop. I got to rewrite the newest book so I can include some more of this stuff. Just some of the way that you say things. And this is probably processing both as a speaker and as a writer. You have to have, I feel that I have to have, and I think it's something that I do well, if I can be so snotty for a second, is you got to have in your tool belt 5 or 6 different ways of saying the same exact thing, because you never know, you never can guarantee who on the other side of the conversation, you never know what they actually need. So you got to be prepared at all times. And I honestly feel that this book gave me some more of that.
I definitely repeat myself. We're saying the same things. Yeah, over and over.
But you gotta have 5 different ways of saying it.
Yeah.
Either for a reader audience, for a conversation audience, for a workshop audience. So I just think it's I think that's important.
Mm-hmm. People hearing it in different ways.
Right, because somebody needs some statistics. Somebody needs an anecdote. Somebody just needs to be told to just quit it and stop doing it that way and start doing it like this, right? And we have to be able, just like our work with children, you got to be able to meet your audience, regardless of the platform, wherever your audience is, and then gently be encouraging them to be growing and changing their minds as well. What are you showing me?
Yeah. Well, so I even got a pretty scientific, high tech, good old
graphic.
prefrontal cortex.
Yeah. So I mean, the opening, the thing that caught me, the first thing I wrote down was that we are who we are because of how, where, and with whom we played. That is a very, very powerful, that's a very, very powerful statement. And then I felt kind of sad because you kind of quickly in the opening ran us through the timeline of concerns, the obesity issue, and then the diabetes issue, and then the high blood pressure issue, and the mental health issue. And I was like, oh my God, I've been in this field. I remember when all of that was new, like, shoot, it was like this little quick overview of how long. I'm like, oh yeah, I remember when that was like the issue. I remember when that one was the only thing that we were concerned about. And now we have, unfortunately, this laundry list of to my knowledge, issues that are for a lot of, I can't say all of them, I can't say 100%, but a lot of those issues are 100% avoidable and preventable through a simple act of making the outdoor space more accessible.
Mhm.
I remember a long, long time ago, and I'm not prepared with the actual correct number here, so forgive me, but it was a little blurb buried in the newspaper 100 years ago that some park and rec department was awarded like $1.4 million to start investigating how to prevent childhood obesity. And I remember like being on the road at gigs being like, open the door, like give me the $14 million.
Yeah.
We don't really need to be, I mean, it doesn't cost any money.
Yeah. That's the beauty of the solutions for so many of these things, that it's like, it's simpler, even though we've got so far, away from it in our busy society, and everyone, still wanting the best for children, but really thinking like such an easy solution is for.
But I think it's in our nature, unfortunately, to overthink things and then make them harder than they need to be. And then we drink the Kool-Aid of thinking that there requires all of this planning and all this coordination, when really you can, what part of going outside is my first baby step? What part of this can I say yes to? Can I say yes to opening the door? Like that could be huge, but it doesn't cost you any money. And I think well, I have a lot of thoughts with it. I want to give you a shout out, because I mean, and I feel like that's all I've been doing right now since we started talking. But specifically, not a lot of people shine a light on the link between the risky play and the link to reading. And I very much appreciate that you specifically made that connection. In my own work myself, my first exposure to that was through a book, again, an ancient book. It's called Play's Place in Public Education. And Victoria Jean Domitian was the editor. And in chapter 4 in that book was the first time I had seen anybody make that link. Now, since then, of course, other people have said it. You have the little sound bites, but I think that's an often glossed over, or sometimes people think that we're kind of just trying to make a point, when really we know that there is, like, it's not some kind of dramatic for effect connection. But children who do not take developmentally appropriate risk-taking experiences and have those opportunities do not become fluent readers, because there is that inherent risk of reading. And I thought that how you spelled that out in your book was awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, trying something that you've never tried before, spelling it out, balancing on the log, trying it out, or trying to make sense of these strange adult characters on the page.
Yeah. The example that you used in the book was very easy to wrap your brain around. So cheers and kudos to that. One of the things that I was like, oh my God, I never thought about this, was your suggestion to document your risk benefit analysis and have that on hand. One of my big things in my message is the intentionality of your work, knowing and being able to articulate what you're doing, why you're doing it, and who is it for. And the thought of capturing that as evidence for somebody who maybe needs some hand holding and seeing that, and maybe some belief and some trust in the fact that you didn't just kind of say, this is a stupid rule, or screw this, we're out of here, but there was a thought process.
Right.
And then I added in my own notes just the idea of not just doing that with the risk benefit, maybe with some actual things and behaviors on a playground or an outdoor space, but also as you shed some of the rules that might be inside or outside, capturing that process to be able to show that it's being done with intention. I call that reflecting, not reacting. And sometimes that might be all somebody needs to see, that, they're not just throwing the baby out with the bathwater because they don't like something, but they have sat down and thought this through. And I think that's, that I appreciated that.
Yeah, working it through, showing that you're being mindful of all this stuff. And it was interesting because I interviewed a few licensors and talked to people at the
Mhm.
state level and national level and licensing and regulations. And that was one of the big things they said. They were all for risk. That was one of the interesting things, kind of all they understood the need for risk, the benefits of it, children having access to it, and then the need for the adults who are providing it to be mindful, thoughtful, and have, carefully thought it all out.
Yeah.
And then the idea of documenting it with that risk benefit analysis so that you can prove it, you can show it, you show it to whoever you need to show it. You show it to licensors, you show it to parents, you show it
Yes,
to new employees. It becomes
exactly.
an exercise that you all talk about to get consensus, especially if you're trying to move the needle to saying yes a little
Mhm.
more. It can help people, think, oh yeah,
Kind
and
of
then just
relax
yeah,
into it.
yeah,
Um, my very first experience with you, I had heard about you, but I attended a NACI conference, which, however, thousands of years ago that was that I first saw you. I tried to really remember what city it was
yeah,
just to give a date context, but I
right.
couldn't. But my takeaway from you that made the most impact from your whole presentation was the hiding quote, which you included in the
Yes.
book. And I was like, oh, that's when I first met you. You didn't know who I was. Shoot, I was sitting on the floor. I was one of the, many that were squeezing ourselves in. A good hiding space is where I can see the teachers, but they can't see me.
Yeah, yeah,
I loved
yeah,
that,
yeah.
and that brought back a memory of me. I mean, I remembered everything. I was sitting on the floor, frantically writing notes, which that kind of gives you a date. Like I wasn't lugging the laptop around, right?
That's
I
right,
was
that's right.
handwriting notes, and that was the one. And then that's when I learned that where you were located, and I was like, oh my gosh,
Yeah,
I'm in Rochester. I should
upstate
know
New
this
York.
guy.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
I should know who I am.
yes,
And that
yes.
was that was that was pretty awesome. There's just so much overlap with the saying yes, so much overlap with the importance of the risking. Um, what part of this can I say yes to? And that I think that is a golden nugget for anybody who is starting to change their mind in any capacity in their program. Well, what part of this? I'll often suggest lifting the verb out. You're needing to do some of this verb. How can we find a way to facilitate this verb in a way that nobody's going to die?
What do you mean? Explain that. What do you mean, this verb?
So, like, you're needing to do some throwing,
Oh,
right? So, lift the verb. So, initially, like, and let's say you're inside and you're in the block center, and now all of a sudden the blocks are becoming projectiles. So, for a quick hot minute, instead of turning that into a moral issue, as Dan Hodgins taught us, right? Stop making moral issues out of developmental ones. So, lift it up for a quick hot minute, reflecting, not reacting. Don't throw the blocks. Reacting, reflecting, you're needing to do some throwing. Let's go find something that you can throw.
yeah,
How can I facilitate the verb? And inside and outside,
yeah,
you're needing to
yeah.
do some throwing, you're needing to do some jumping, some spinning, some yelling, some screaming. What part of this can I say yes to? Where
Mm.
can I say yes to this? And Rusty, I used to joke all the time that the reason that we went home exhausted at the end of the day wasn't necessarily because we were running around a playground with a bunch of 18-month-olds, but because of the cerebralness of our job, the constantly thinking and looking and being two
Yeah.
steps ahead, but yet always in the moment, and just the cerebral, what's going on? What's going on? How can I adjust? What needs to, just constantly being engaged with what's happening, but yet on the sidelines, perhaps.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And I think of it like with a constant like adrenaline drip too,
I
because
know,
you're always
like we
ready
get addicted to, right?
to jump in, but you get beat, you're exhausted at the end of the day. Yeah, yeah, you're ready for it all. You'll be
and
ready for
and the stepping back as opposed to
yeah,
stepping in. Like you really, I'm probably repeating myself now, but there were so many nuggets that I think, depending on where people are in their own personal journey of saying yes, more
yeah,
yes to play, um, I really do believe that there's going to be something in here for everybody, whether it's affirmation, like they can 100% read the book and be like, I do this daily. Thank you. There's somebody else. I got a new tribe member, all the way to somebody who's like, really? Really? You know, and I really do think that the book itself makes room for wherever you are on your own journey there.
Mm-hmm. Good, thanks. Yeah, yeah.
The
We
best
all.
playground equipment is just trying to be a tree. That was awesome. That really that really and
Yeah.
I how well it was the last note I took, but the when you shared the licensing story when you showed them the picture and they were like, wait, are we so is this
Is this
okay?
good?
Is this okay? Is this good? And you're like,
Wait,
yeah, and they're
bad?
like, okay.
Is
Thumbs
this
up. We're
best
on the same
practice
page.
or worst practice? Best practice or worst practice?
Yeah,
Best,
let's
best.
let's be on the same page here.
Uh,
I do also appreciate the you gave some very clear specific strategies when it came time for the clothes, the clothing
mm,
section. Like
mm,
that always comes up. That comes up in process oriented art conversation, that comes up in
mm.
outdoor play conversation, and you gave some fantastic strategies in there, so that's a nice little tease that I'll toss out for
There we
somebody.
go. There we go. Yeah.
Yeah,
To the
yeah,
book. Read the
I'm
book.
here.
Find out.
Yeah, right. Dream big, start small, never stop. That should be you should sell a shirt or a mug that sells that. That's like your hashtag.
That's a good one.
And then Heather Shoemaker, who it's okay to go up the slide and it's okay to not share. Little shout out to her.
Yeah.
I'm sure she's also on your radar, and she talks about safety second, right? Instead of leading with
Mm,
safety first,
yeah.
just enough safety. How does safety second? And um
Yeah. Yeah.
and and this was really powerful, Rusty, when you talked about how changing clothes isn't more work, it is the work. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
mic drop, boom. I'm stealing that.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
your job.
Yeah. That's
If
the
you didn't
work.
want to do
That's
that, you picked the wrong profession. I had a
yeah.
kid one time. Here's a family childcare story. So when I was doing family childcare out in, this was the first time I did family childcare. I was in San Diego, and we used to walk up to the park. And you would have loved some of these stories. I could regale you with these. This particular group of children, they were outdoors. I had a huge yard. It was wonderful. Like we were doing all the stuff we were supposed to do before we knew. You know what I'm saying? We were just doing it. And
Yeah.
then folks like you came on the scene and you're like, oh my gosh, yay, pat me on the back. Anyway, so we're walking up to the park. If you and I were walking, Rusty, it would take us 10 minutes to walk to this park. But of course, because you have 12 children, it's, it's its own experience because it's taken an
Journey.
hour to
Yes.
get there, right? We're saying hi to everybody. We're picking up the trash. Well, the play group ladies used to go to this park until I started going there on a regular basis. And then they'd be like, no. And they'd pack up, they'd see us coming up the hill and they'd be like, get in the van, that lady's here. And anyway, it was cool because we ended up getting the park to our own selves. But this one particular time, there were other people there, and one of the little boys was just standing in the middle of the sand. He had gotten some sand on him or some mud or something on him. We're getting there. He's crying because he's got mud on him. One of my 4-year-olds ran by this kid, looked him in the face and said, quit whining, you're washable. And then they went and started running and playing. And I was reminded of that story when
Yes.
I was reading through
Yes.
your book. Quit your
Yes.
whining, you're washable.
100% washable. Yeah. Or 99% washable.
99% washable. Yeah. And grab what you need to go out. Grab what you need. I love the opportunity for children to be trusted to make their own decisions,
Mm-hmm.
and that the children trust that it goes both ways. Like if I don't think I need my jacket, but then I decide I do, I'm not going to lose face at
Yeah.
all by
Yeah.
saying, oh, I'm cold, I need to go back in, right? I'm not going to be given that, see, I told you you needed a
Yeah.
jacket.
Shame.
Right? Shame. Yeah, publicly shaming you now. But that goes both ways. And that also, because I might need a jacket, doesn't mean that the kids need a jacket, and vice versa.
Yes.
Sometimes they do and I don't, and whatever. And I don't know, that to me just comes back to general respect and trust and relationship building.
Mm-hmm.
That's crucial to any program.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Relationships. Yeah.
So there's a quick what, 20-minute rundown of Lisa Murphy's highlights. I mean, I wrote tons of notes, but I went through before we had our phone chat or our Zoom here and highlighted the ones that I wanted to be sure that I shone some light on.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's great. So fun to hear your thoughts on this and see where, where we overlap and where it goes. And yeah, I love it. I love it.
Oh
I'm
yeah,
so
the
good.
Venn
So good.
diagram of our philosophy is one big circle. I mean, let's just put that out there. I mean,
I
there's
like it. Yeah. 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 So when we think back to our own play space, where did you play growing up?
outside. I mean,
Yeah.
it was a suburb of San Francisco. It was the
Yeah.
70s. We were all outside, all in mixed ages.
Yeah.
All the fodder that you use when we do the workshops, you didn't say, I'm sorry, you're 7. You need to go to the other street to play with the 7-year-olds.
Right.
Um,
Right.
those memories of riding bikes for hours, thinking you were on these grand adventures. And then, that phenomenon when you go back as an adult and you're like, oh my God, I can see the end of the road from right here. Really wasn't that far.
Yeah. Right. Right.
Um,
That ditch, that was the river.
yeah, right.
That was
Right.
the giant boulder, that thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I often reflect on I don't know if maybe vernacular, but like the language that was unique to the group of kids that you ran around with. Like we had, not that it was code, but you could say things like, we meet me at the dirt, and everybody
Yeah.
knew what that meant. And that almost a rite of passage by being told what those things were. And some of the games, I'm the oldest of 5. So, and we would play, together. And my brother and I were only about 16, 17 months apart. So we played together a lot and we made up just stupid games that to this day, if I say, hey, you want to play clown? And he's like, no. But clown was where you'd sit on a ball and the other person would pull the ball out from under you so you'd fall on your butt. That was clown. You want to play clown?
Uh-huh. Yeah. He's like, no, I don't
Yeah,
want
no,
to.
we're
I don't
done.
want
I'm
to play
45. I don't need to play clown. I'll bust a hip.
that. You got me enough, big sister.
Yeah, right. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, I would be exaggerating if I was claiming to have some kind of you know, uh, uh, I was going to say wax poetic and over dramatize it. I mean, we didn't. I mean, we were outside riding bikes, poking
Right.
things with
Yeah.
sticks, and
Yeah.
nothing glamorous. I don't really have like amazing stories, but I have really awesome memories, if that makes sense.
Yeah. 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 It sounded like it was just normal kid culture.
Yeah,
You
very
know,
much so.
and it's a funny thing about us who now are like talking up play and supporting people who want to support play, and the idea that we have to kind of do that now because of all the different, our society and people and their thinking and busyness and all this kind of stuff. It's like we have to help people. Back in the old days, it was just like parents, you just went outside, and it
Mhm.
wasn't because they're like, oh, this is good, this is gonna help them read, or this is
Right,
gonna help,
right.
yeah,
No, it was like, get out of my hair.
yeah,
Get out.
yeah,
But I call it my shorthand is I call it the pipeline problem, because not a problem in a problem, but we are now, I mean, I'm 51 and the
yeah, I'm
audiences of
52.
course get older, get younger as we
Yeah,
get older.
yeah,
And probably not, I mean, it's not like I've been concerned about this for years and years and years, but it kind of started rearing its head about 10 years ago, where the audience members, through no fault of their own, didn't get early childhood experiences like that for
yeah,
whatever reason.
yeah,
When you grow up in a childcare, again, no judgment, but if you're spending 12 hours a day in a childcare center and you only get to go outside when the schedule allots your 30 minutes because you have to share the yard with 150 other children, you don't necessarily potentially have that emotional connection
yeah,
for us as speakers to go hook and reconnect you to potentially. You got this lady up on the stage saying that I should now go be doing with the kids stuff that I didn't get. So how is it so important and why? And so I'm like, oh my goodness, how do you change that? And through, I think, pictures and through experiences, just as much as we want to set up experiences for children to have, the reality is that some of the people working with children also need to have some of those own experiences and to experience them as adults, separate from the children, as adults. And I
Mm.
think that then they might not have the memory to be connected with, but then they start to see, they have that experience of, wow, you know what? It really did kind of tick me off when you rang the bell after 20 minutes and I wasn't done digging in the sandbox yet. And I
Uh,
wasn't done making that fort yet. And I was still assembling that stuff. And I was still I wasn't done. And you're ringing the bell. You know, that
mm.
adult is gonna, I would like to think, have a little bit more of an understanding now as to why the kids are pushing back, because I myself, as a grown adult, didn't feel that I had enough time to finish what I had started.
Mm.
It's
Mhm.
hard to give back what you didn't get.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think
Okay.
the memory, I think not just for outside adventures and outside play, but then also for inside experiences as well. That if you don't have the memories to tap into, it might behoove you to create some as adults in order to be a little bit more empathetic and understanding with the younger children.
Mhm. Mhm. Getting to see it through the children's eyes, the children's experience. If you're doing that yourself, if an adult, a young adult, is building a fairy hut, we do that at workshops. It's you just see people come alive with that kind of stuff, and then they remember, like it's like, oh,
Mhm.
or they feel it, or they touch. There's a magic. Maybe they're getting it newly,
Mhm.
um, but
Like a
then
first
yeah,
time experience, sure.
yeah, yeah,
Just as
yeah.
valid as is as awakening memories that maybe had been, quieted down and submerged for a while too. Just
Mm-hmm.
as powerful.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
About my passion is the intersection between play therapy, adventure playgrounds, and play in childcare settings. That
Ah.
overlap, that little bit of the Venn diagram,
Mm.
that's my passion area. That's my sweet spot,
Interesting. Yeah.
which of
How do
course
you?
I see a
Yeah.
lot in your book, 'cause, the adventure playground piece and the junk playgrounds, and that's I call it the raw underbelly of outdoor play and loose parts play. I mean, I'm more definitely the junk playground
Yeah,
category.
yeah, yeah. It was funny because my first book was like it's natural playscapes, and it was like bring in nature and beauty and flowers and green grass. And then this one is the junk. It is like, yeah, mess it up and pushing people's buttons aesthetically. Who knows? But at least to show, like, look at this stuff, and then if you can see it with the eyes of a child, and with the potential
Well, and
for
I
those things.
appreciated how you shared a little bit, like you, as somebody said to me the other day, you moved the veil, right? Look behind the veil, but you shared a little bit of your own process of becoming more okay with that in this
Right. I would used
that
to be
aspect.
tires, no
No
tires.
tires. And I was like, oh, Rusty, tires are the bomb. I've had to stand up and defend the use of tires. I had it's so much. I mean, all of us could share that story, right? The laundry list of the conversations with licensing, and what I've gotten written up for, and what I did immediately to, because I'm like, what are the non-compromisables? I'm not willing to get rid of the tires. Here's 10 reasons why these tires need to stay
Mm,
on site. Let's get to the point. Let's get to what your real beef is with the tire, because the tire was here, Miss Licenser, in every single visit. It's been here,
yeah,
but it's only bugging you today. So like what's really going on here?
yeah.
Yeah, but it's good practice too, right? It's not a throwing licensing under the bus, but I think you give some good strategy there too. Your job is to enforce regs, not interpret them.
Yeah, yeah,
And there's a difference. That's not just
yeah.
semantics. And I
Mm,
think as people in the profession, the frontline care providers, it behooves us to practice talking like that. That it what page is that on, is what I like to say. Are we
mm,
hiding behind there's this idea that something is a licensing rule when really it's just
yes.
a personal preference of somebody. And let's get to the bottom of it. Is this really a rule? Or
Yeah,
is it just what we all drink the Kool-Aid of thinking should be a rule when really
yeah,
it's not a rule at all?
yeah, yeah. And then people having that fear I talk about in the book, that it's not just the licensor, it's the fear of the licensor. And then sometimes that licensor in our head that we think they're what they're going to say, that
Right.
stops people more than the actual licensor, let alone when there are licensors.
And what I have found to be successful with the people who've worked for me through the years is what levels that power dynamic is that the people providing the care have to be familiar with the document. I
Yeah,
think that's
yeah,
the secret
yeah,
weapon. If you are not familiar with the document, then you're going to give all of the power up to the person who
yeah.
walks in with the clipboard.
Mm.
So level the playing field. Take responsibility for it. Go
Yeah.
read it.
You
I
have
mean,
your
that's
own clipboard.
have my own clipboard. You're not allowed to do this. I'm sorry. What section of subsection paragraph 4? Yeah. Oh, wow, you've read it. I actually had some licensors tell me at a gig one time on the break, they said, unfortunately, we work from the assumption that nobody's read the regs. And I said, so then
Yeah,
I said, okay, fair enough. Full disclosure, appreciate your honesty, but I'm going to now use that.
yeah, yeah,
So let's now say, you know what, guys, this is what I've been told. Prove them wrong.
yeah,
Prove them wrong.
yeah, yeah,
Read it.
yeah.
Have a working knowledge of it. You don't have to memorize it. You know what just jumped in my head, Rusty? I want to say
Yeah.
this is a piece in the book where you said be known for it.
Ah.
And I actually in the front of my copy of the book, I wrote that I said, "What do you want to be known for?"
Ooh.
I would want to be known as the school where they're outside all the time, where they
Mm.
play in the mud, right? Because let that reputation do some of that weeding out for you, right? I'm not going to change my program because you don't want your kid to get dirty. I could share knowledge with you, I can show you the benefits, but
Yep.
I'm not going to change my program to fit your expectation just because you don't like this.
Mm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because I think that's an advocacy piece too, is that, I mean, we are businesses. We do need to keep the lights on. We got to figure out how to pay the bills. I get that. I'm a business owner,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm not going to compromise our philosophical orientation in order to do that. I'm not going to sell a different program to parents than the one I'm actually going to deliver. That's really, really important.
Yeah. 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 I always feel like it's hardest for the parents that came in before people were doing all the wild stuff. Yeah. Cause they're like, wait, I thought, weren't we doing worksheets and stuff? Uh, but then once you do it, then yeah, you get known for it. And then people come and because they want that and they recognize it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I've
Yeah.
had parents through the years tell me, Lisa, I really don't like any of the stuff that I see here, but I know my kid likes it and I know my kid needs it. So I'm going to I'm going to put that on pause because I know they're not in harm's
Yeah.
way, right? Nothing wrong is happening. I just don't like it. But
Yeah.
I can suspend that, right?
That's good.
In
That's
order to
big.
meet the need of my child. Yeah,
Right.
that's fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
They recognize it's good for their kids. Yeah. Well, you do good things for kids, Lisa. And
Yeah.
the difference that you make and the minds that you open all these years and the excitement, you get people charged up and willing to take chances and make change and ultimately do good things. And you think about like all the people that you've spoken to and then all the children that they all represent. I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot of kids.
Yeah, well, that's honestly why what decided to speak full time was a numbers game. I knew that the kids in the family childcare were having the best experience possible, which
Uh,
doesn't mean that you didn't have bad days, right? And that there still were challenges, but that was 12 kids. 12.
yeah.
This was great, but it was 12. And then I was like, what if we did this thing full time and you take the number of teachers and providers and multiply that by an average of 12 kids? To me my focus is the environment, is setting up environments, getting people to start to see what tweaks can happen in their environment to be facilitating more play.
Mm-hmm.
And then a shout out to my colleague Mardell up in Canada, who facilitates a lot of the Kinder Chat discussions on Twitter. She, about, God, it was probably 10 years ago. She tossed a nugget out to me that I grabbed, and I have not let go of it. She said, Lisa, I'm not sure if we're really as protective of play per se than we are of choice.
Hmm.
Because by protecting and ensuring choice, a byproduct of that is going to be this deep, rich, authentic play, but the choice piece. So how do we start creating environments and facilitating space that, yes, has play right here as our North Star, but what are the other variables that assist in creating that true play-based experience, a true play-based environment?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I've been thinking about it as you can change the exterior environment. You can do natural things. You can have tires. You can have loose parts, water, all the good stuff. But then this book and what we're talking about is how do you change the internal environment? Can people be self-reflective and think about those yeses, the nos, the maybes, and say yes more and support that kind of stuff, the inside.
100%. You got to
Yeah.
examine your values before you can reflect on your practice. Otherwise, it's always going to be inconsistent, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Or as Bev used to say, it's like putting a Band-Aid on it. You go to a workshop and you get a good idea and you go back, but really you're just putting a Band-Aid on a dying program, and that Band-Aid's not going to sustain you. Yeah, but we got a light table, we got a mud kitchen. Yeah, but you also got about 10 crabby people who don't want to be here on a regular basis. So what are we doing about that?
Mm-hmm.
Because those Band-Aids are going to keep falling off until we figure out what's killing your program.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, what else, Rusty? What else you want to talk about?
Yeah. I mean, we're covering. I don't know what else. I love the idea of 10 notes. I want to see these 10 pages of notes.
Oh, I can scan them for you if you want.
I would love to see it.
Tell people where they can get your book.
Oh, yeah. So people can get signed copies from my website. Yeah. rustykeeler.com. Exchange Press has them, so they can get them there too. And then I'm doing book clubs and doing some risky play classes on my website. So if people go to my website, they can check all that stuff out. But I'd love to sign a book for them. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for asking or inviting me, I guess, to kick around the thoughts.
Yeah. Well, I look forward to keep the conversation going.
Definitely.
Yeah,
always.
See how we can continue.
The minute we wake up and think there's nothing else to talk about, we all just need to retire.
That's right. Yeah, good.